Good morning, Parish family. It's a joy to be with you once again through this platform. Many of you will recognize where I am at, as this is our beautiful church space. What a joy it is to be back in Bolivar for the time being, and a joy to be with all of you through this platform. I'd like to share with you today the fruits of my prayer for this weekend's gospel. Happens to be one of my favorite gospel readings in the Gospel of John. John, as we know, is the young disciple, the disciple whom Jesus loved, as is told in the Gospels, and the disciple, the apostle rather, who laid his head on the beating heart, the beating chest of Jesus at the Last Supper. And so, we know that Jesus and John had a very, very close relationship. And in John's Gospel, he speaks of this one particular instance when they are all gathered upstairs. The 12 are gathered upstairs in the upper room, and the doors are locked. John makes sure to mention that the doors are locked. And Jesus enters into the midst of them. And of course, I can imagine here in my prayer the shocked look upon the 12 apostles' faces. Like, whoa, Jesus, how'd you get in here? The door is locked. Are you a ghost? What are you? And in the gospel we hear from Thursday, today, when I'm recording this, we kind of hear Jesus say, I am not a ghost. Ghosts do not have flesh. You cannot touch them. You cannot see them. I am the resurrected Christ. And so today we hear, on Sunday rather, we will hear from the Gospel of John all about how Jesus entered through those locked doors. And the first thing Jesus says to his apostles is, peace be with you. And because I'm a little bit of a liturgy nerd, the only person in the church that can say peace be with you at the beginning of a liturgy is a bishop, who we see as the successors of the apostles. Peace be with you, in which we would also respond, and with your spirit. Now, of course, the liturgy wasn't created just at the time of the apostles, so none of that was a reality just yet. But that was just really a side shoot for me. So back to the prayer that I had. Jesus enters into this upper room and says, peace be with you. He doesn't say it once, he doesn't say it twice, but 3 times. The Holy Trinity says, peace be with you. And he entered into locked doors, which I kind of find ironic in today's time, as the churches across southern Missouri are locked, essentially. You cannot get in, which can be a real cross to bear. And you cannot gather here at this altar and kneel before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament and pray with him. Yet Jesus enters into these locked spaces. But even deeper, Jesus enters into our locked hearts. Oftentimes this gospel reading, we can pull out the easy part, the unbelief of Thomas, which John goes on to describe a bit later. Unless I touch his side and feel his nail marks in his hands, I will not believe. That's what Thomas says, and that's typically what we focus on. But what I find more striking is Jesus enters into locked doors. The locked doors of our homes, of our places of work, at this altar, but most especially of all, into our hearts. We each have a place in our life where it is extremely hard to let someone else in. It is locked. It is the pain that we experience. It is real. It is raw. But only us wish to experience that. We don't want anyone to see our brokenness. Yet Jesus has already been there. He has already seen that brokenness. He has already experienced that pain, that suffering, and that sorrow on the cross at Calvary. And so in this time of quarantine, I think it's especially important to unlock the door to our hearts, to let people in, to truly be set free. And so, when we come back together as a community of believers here at the foot of the altar, we can hear Jesus say, "Peace be with you." My dear brothers and sisters, I encourage each of you to spend some time in prayer over this gospel. There is much to be said, but this is the fruit of my own personal prayer. I thank you for the many prayers that you have offered for Father and myself. I ask that you continue to pray for us as we learn new ways to bring the gospel message to you, our community of believers, our parishioners, our family. But I also pray that you might pray for us so that we can learn how to use this new technology, which can sometimes be a cross to bear in and of itself. I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully soon. Please know of my prayers for you and for your families. May God bless you and keep you safe.